In this video, we will show you how to replace your vehicle's coolant reservoir on this Ford F-150 with a 3.5 liter engine. This will be located along the front of your engine compartment. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. We're going to be under the hood, right at the coolant overflow tank. We'll confirm that everything's cool to the touch. You never want to open up your cooling system when the system is hot. It can be under pressure. Continuing on, we'll take hold of the coolant reservoir cap here. We're going to turn this counterclockwise and lift it up and away from our face. Just a quick inspection of the cap there. We'll rest this along top. Now a quick note about replacing our coolant reservoir up along the top here. Typically you do not need to drain all the coolant out of the cooling system, including the engine, when doing this. You could just drain the coolant low enough that the entire reservoir is empty and replace it at that point, but it's usually the best idea to just go ahead and replace all the coolant at once, so I'm going to drain the cooling system. Now let's make our way down underneath the driver's side of the vehicle so we can drain our cooling system. Now as I make my way up along the driver's side front corner just behind the front bumper, along the front of the radiator, on the forward driver's side corner is where you're going to find the drain for your cooling system. We'll make sure we have a collection receptacle under this area. Now to drain this, I'm going to be using a flathead screwdriver directly inside of this red mounting port here. Before I do so, I like to use a hose on the drain port, allowing the coolant to make its way downward into my coolant receptacle. Just press that right on there. Once that's done draining, we'll just go ahead and close that drain. Once you have the coolant down low enough and you have that drain plug closed, we'll make our way back up under the hood here at that coolant reservoir tank. We'll start at the lower hose. This leads down to the bottom of that reservoir tank. For this, you can see it has a small metal clip. We'll use an angled pick or even a small screwdriver and we'll pull that out of place and then dislodge the hose. Just a quick inspection of that clamp. Quick inspection of the hose itself, confirming it's still in good usable order. This looks fine. We'll set it aside for now. With that disconnected, we have two more hoses. These next ones are up along the top. I like to dislodge it from the air inlet. For these clamps, you can just go ahead and squeeze on them with some pliers if necessary. We'll pull these out of place. I have to pivot this one a little bit. Just a quick inspection, make sure your hose is soft and pliable, we'll move along. Now there's two pieces of mounting hardware to remove, two 10mm headed mounting bolts, each from the top, one on each side. With the bolts out of there, we're going to take hold of this reservoir and lift it straight up and away. It does have a small locating tab that slides into the fan assembly. There it is, friend. All right, let's get ready to install our brand new coolant reservoir assembly here. We have one locating tab on the bottom that will slide into the fan. Let's go ahead and slide that right down into its corresponding slot. Align your mounting bolt ports. Start in each one of those mounting bolts and snug them up. Now it's time for our three hoses. We'll start up along the top. Press that on there as far as possible, of course. Give it a tug, ensuring it does not fall off. We'll continue on to the next one. Now it's time for our lower hose. As you remember, we did remove that locking clip, so we'll just slide it right back into its mounting groove. Should slide right in there. I can see it making its way all the way around, seated properly. Let's go ahead and line this up, press it on. Listen for a click. A tug confirming it's secure. Now it's time to fill the cooling system. We'll make our way over to that cap. Go ahead and remove that, set it aside. Looking along the side of your coolant reservoir, on the passenger side that is, you can see exactly where the coolant level needs to be at by the time it's full. Right up in this area, there's a small line. You can see minimum, and maximum is essentially this larger line right here. We'll go ahead and fill up the cooling system. Now to fill this, we want to make sure that we remove as much air from in the system as possible. Even one air pocket can cause an issue with the cooling system and heat coming out of the vents. To do this, I'm going to be using a vacuum system. It's going to create vacuum in the system and it'll draw the coolant in. We'll make sure we only fill it up to this area. Now on my particular tool, I have a gauge right here. I'm going to apply pressure to this. You'll see that it creates vacuum. We want to watch this needle make its way all the way through the red, through the yellow, and into the green. Generally, anywhere past that 25 pounds of vacuum pressure is exactly where we want to be. Once we're there, we're going to cap this off, and we'll pause for a minute, confirming that the gauge does not start falling down into the yellow, or worse, into the red. If it falls into the red, you know you have a leak somewhere, and you definitely want to fix that before you continue filling. Now we're going to start drawing our manufacturer specified fluid directly into the cooling system here. We'll make sure that we do not start drawing any air from inside of the container. We'll just swap it out as necessary. Obviously, we don't want to go too high here, so I'm going to start releasing some pressure. We'll let that coolant level make its way down. Now that we have our coolant up to the proper level here, we can continue on to reinstalling our coolant cap. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our coolant reservoir. The next thing that you want to do is make your way up into the passenger compartment, start the vehicle, let it run for a while until you hear the cooling fans turn on. At that point, the thermostat should have opened up, coolant is circulating throughout the entire system, and double check your coolant level. Top it off as necessary, close the hood, take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.